Go ahead and try a little piece here and see what we got. I'm gonna try it right from the middle. It's definitely a very light texture. Ooh. That is definitely different. That is a very light tasting fish too. For our lunch today, I thought I'd make a fish souffle. And this is actually pretty simple. I think the most important part of this is to get your egg whites nice and stiff before you fold it into the mixture. Basically the ingredients, we've got 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of regular milk. We have a little bit of salt, 1 teaspoon of salt, black pepper to taste. I'm gonna probably add a little cayenne to it as well. The recipe uses salmon. I'm not using salmon. I'm using some largemouth bass that I caught back in September. And 3 eggs separated, so I got the yolks and the whites separated from each other. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure out about 8 ounces of bass raw, and I'm gonna cook it until it's done, basically. Probably about maybe 7 minutes or so, just in some boiling water with a little bit of salt. So let me get the bass done, and then I'll show you the next step. I've been boiling my bass for I guess maybe about 4 minutes or so, and it's pretty much falling apart. I'm gonna go ahead and strain this in a strainer, and then I'm gonna measure out 6 ounces. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this now, but get you a potato masher and just kind of mash them where they kind of, you know, pretty fine. So, and then I'm gonna go ahead and drain it, then weigh it. All right, that's how the meat came out. And it's not quite 6 ounces, it's like 5.5 ounces, but that's fine. I'm not gonna worry about that. It'll come out just fine with that. So next step, we're gonna go ahead and melt the butter. So let me get that ready. So there's my 3 tablespoons of butter. And like I said, we're gonna melt that. Then we're gonna add the flour, milk, salt, and pepper to it. And basically we're gonna cook it till it's no clumps in it, and where it's nice and it kind of starts to thicken up a little bit. And I think it'd be better to add the milk before you add the other ingredients. I think it'll just be better. So let's go ahead and add the milk. And then after that's my butter was just about melted. So this is a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of flour, and I did an 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper and an 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So we'll go ahead and add all that to it. And I think the whole trick of this recipe is the egg whites when you fold them in, as well as this right here. This needs to be lump free. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my whisk out and start whisking it to get everything incorporated really well. And here's my whisk. Like I said, just keep turning it with the whisk, and it'll get it nice and smooth. And that's what we want. Okay, so this only been maybe a couple minutes, and it's already starting to get a little thick to it. And I think that's all we want. Just wait for it to thicken up a little bit. So maybe, you know, 2 or 3 minutes. Go ahead and remove it from the heat at this point. Now we'll go ahead and add our bass to it, or salmon if you really like it. I bought a can to make some patties with it. I mean, it was okay, don't get me wrong, but I much prefer fresh fish than canned fish. So there's our bass, not salmon, and here's our egg yolks, and I just slightly beat them with a fork. Go ahead and add that to it. And since eggs almost cost $1 a piece now, try to get it all out because it's just starting to break the bank. And just kind of go ahead and mix this really well. Now we'll go ahead and beat the egg whites until they're stiff. And that's how we're supposed to look. Like I said, nice stiff peaks. I mean, basically it's pretty stiff now. Go ahead and get you a nice sized, I'm using a little casserole dish. This is a Corningware. I can't really read the 1.5 quart, and I think it should all fit in here. Get you some butter and just kind of make sure you butter the inside of the dish really well. And I think a little extra butter won't hurt. And there's our mix. First thing I'm gonna do is take the beaters and go ahead and tap them off really good. As far as my spoon I'm gonna use with the Teflon one, I think it'll just make it easier. And basically we're gonna fold the egg whites into the mix, and I'm gonna just do it a little bit at a time. You see how stiff it is, right? I mean, you want it very stiff, and you don't want to mix it because they're supposed to be fluffy when it's all said and done. So I'm just kind of cutting it in half and then folding it. I just kind of go around, and I'm not even worried about it being mixed really well, because you don't want this mixed really well. You want it mixed very loose so it's nice and airy. So see, I'm just kind of putting in the middle and then just folding it. Yeah, I got a little bit left here. Go ahead and I got my oven preheated already to 350. And like I said, we're going to bake this 20 to 25 minutes, basically until it's golden brown. The fish is already cooked, so really the only thing you're cooking is the eggs and the milk. So just fold it a little bit more. Now we'll go ahead and pour it in our dish here. And hopefully my dish is big enough. This is the first time making this recipe, so we're going to see. Hopefully it doesn't expand over the top. If it does, I might be scooping some stuff out. I had a five quart one like this, but that would just be too much, I think. The recipe really didn't say how big to make it, so I had to guess. So there we go. Let's put that in the oven. And basically we'll just kind of stick it right in the middle. And if it does expand, I'm gonna take my top rack like totally out, just in case. Well, I can get to it quick, and we'll just let this cook. Like I said, for 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 25, and I'm gonna just check it as it cooks. All right, we got 1 minute left on my cook cycle, and that is how we currently look. And I think I'm gonna let this go another 5 minutes. It's still pretty jiggly, so I don't think it's supposed to be that jiggly. So actually I might go another 10 minutes. My oven tends to cook a little lower than most. So I think I'm gonna do another 10 minutes. Basically I don't want the middle to jiggle like it's currently doing. So I think that'd be still pretty raw inside. So 10 more minutes. Like I said, if the crust starts to get really brown, like too much, then I'll stop it. But I'm gonna go another 10. I got 1 minute left on this cook cycle. At this point, it's getting to be pretty nice and golden and brown on top. It's still a little jiggly, but not terribly bad. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it and see what it looks like at this point. So I've been letting this rest for I guess around 10 minutes, and as you can see, it kind of settled down a little bit. Still nice and fluffy, it seems, in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little piece, and we'll see what we got. And basically I'm gonna just kind of, I'm sure this is not gonna come out all in one piece, but it is what it is. Though I could be wrong. Seems like it does. And that's how we look. Go ahead and try a little piece here and see what we got. I'm gonna try it right from the middle. It's definitely a very light texture. Ooh, That is definitely different. That is a very light tasting fish too. Salmon, of course, would be pretty strong. I find it's a pretty strong tasting fish. Bass is not. To me, bass has probably one of the lightest tasting fishes there is. This is actually really good. It's nice and airy. It does have a little spice with the cayenne and the black pepper, but not overly. Salt's good. Actually, if I ever make this again, I actually probably use less salt, maybe half a teaspoon of salt, because you definitely don't have to add any to it. So I think 1 teaspoon is a little bit too much, so maybe half a teaspoon. And when I make the ingredients, I'm actually make it as a half a teaspoon of salt, not 1 teaspoon of salt. One's a little bit too much, especially with canned salmon. That would be really salty, because that stuff has a lot of salt in it. So there you go. Fish souffle made with largemouth bass, caught in South Louisiana. So this is how it looks after I cut it. And like I said, I actually cooked this about 33 minutes I cooked it for. And it's still nice and airy, light, very light, but it's not running. Like I said, I cut it. There's no liquid running in the middle. And it's really good. It has a really good taste. Very light. Like I said, the trick is to make sure it's smooth. 2 or 3 minutes on your first step, just where it starts to thicken. And you got to get your egg whites real stiff, where it forms real stiff peaks, and just fold your egg white in, but don't overwork it. Like I barely worked it at all, and you can see the egg whites are on top, and everything is still nice and airy in the middle. I actually think this would work really good with crawfish tails too. Some ground up crawfish. Make a crawfish souffle. I think that'd be really good. Actually, I might try that. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the thumbs up button. Thanks.